everyone. We are back with another episode of Radio Gaga 2.0. This is Ria.
I'm Sahil.
And I'm Ushma. And we are your hosts for today. And we'll be in conversation with Aditya Jhunjhunwala. So, glad to have you on the show.
All
All well.
Thanks for having me here today and excited to see how this conversation emerges.
Surely. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. We've all heard it, we've all been through it. But this time our Jack is a CEO and he plays as well. So my first question to you is, how is the story of Playful CEO? How did the idea came up and how is things like that?
Okay, so you hit me right at the spot. So initially when I put this thing Playful CEO out, many people said, oh, it sounds a little shady. What's a CEO doing being playful? But, just to put it very simply, I think our life is about creativity. It's about creating, innovating, solving problems. And I really believe that the heart of creativity is play. The source of creativity comes from play, from exploring, from, not worrying about what will happen, but just exploring, discovering. So, scientists, inventors, entrepreneurs, they need to have this quality called playfulness. In fact, in one of the systems of teaching entrepreneurship, if entrepreneurship could ever be taught, they break down entrepreneurship into 5 different practices. And one of the important practices in the process of learning and becoming an entrepreneur is called the practice of play. So therefore, I feel, when you're at play, you're at your best, you're free, you don't have anxieties, you are exploring and allowing creativity to emerge. And I think that's where, for me, Playful CEO kind of emerges from.
Absolutely, because seeing something like a Playful CEO, of course, that's the breaking the stereotypes in the first place. Even when our teacher says this word, the first idea of a CEO would be all decked up in blazers and tuxedos and, a strict, stringent image of managing people. But having someone so cozy, that's the best part.
You're right, yeah. And that is true, right? That is true. So I also feel that we have multiple, I don't want to say personalities because that sounds a bit funny, but we all have multiple roles
to play. Yeah, roles to play.
And there's no one stereotype. So of course, there are times when I'll wear a jacket or a blazer or a tie, and then there are times I'll be in a t-shirt. There are times where I'll be wearing shorts. So I think it's great to be able to adapt to the situation, to the people around you. I used to work at IBM, one of my first jobs, and in IBM they used to, IBM is known to be a company with, you wear formals every day, you wear these suits with ties, very, very sharply dressed. But IBM has also adapted. And I heard the recent IBM CEO say that dress according to the people you are going to meet, dress according to your customers. So adapt to what's around that makes people feel comfortable and makes people feel at ease, makes people trust you.
Yeah, that's I think so the non-conventional part of all the syndromes come in. When you're approachable and when people can, like today, the very reason that we approached you was because we found something which was, there was something, the kind of instinct, the kind of happy glare that made us talk to you today. This is just a very raw example of how things happen.
So sweet.
I would like to ask a question, sir. How did the idea of enterprise, I have seen everything, connecting to the youngsters, like graduates, like if you're from small town, you have got your family businesses, and then are you looking to do MBA or joining a family business? Like, how did you get to know this point that most of the youngsters are confused about it, and then let's come up something like let's enterprise and let's gather people and let's them give a practical exposure to the world, from the world, so they can learn something from it.
Wow, you've really done your research well, Sahil. I like that.
Yeah.
Well, you're very right. I mean, it's a great question. How did this idea come about? And I think all good ideas, let me not say great, but all good ideas come from spending enough time with your potential market or with your potential users. And before I started enterprise, for 5 years, I worked dedicatedly with with hundreds of young people running leadership and self-discovery programs. I used to run a program called Dancing with Tigers. And for 5 years, I've worked very closely with young people in this age group. And that's when I realized that this age group, let's say between 18 and all the way up to 25, there are two pulls that we face. On one side, there is this pull that to take decisions, to choose your career, to start earning, to catch up with the others. There's a sense of FOMO that my friends are all taking decisions and they all know what to do in their life. So there's this one side to get set and to get settled and to, choose, take decisions. But there is also this other pull during this age to discover, to explore, to try many things, to meet many people, to travel, right? Which is a very different pull. It's a pull that is saying that, I don't have to decide right now. I want to explore, I want to try. So these two pulls, they are in opposite directions, or inke beech mein we become khichdi.
Exactly. It's like, because the stereotype has been like, now I want to explore. I don't know, I'm confused. I don't want to pursue chartered accountancy. I'm not sure, will I be fit in my business? Do I want to do MBA? I want to explore more. And then there's a time, like my age is 25, then there's a pressure from the parents. Now you need to get married. Like there's a stereotype now, you need to follow this. So to break this, like we need to break the stereotype, and like it's completely okay. We can take our time.
I wanted to also add that, like at every stage, once you become older, that whole juggle comes in where you have to like give importance to certain things and like you have to manage well. So like what is that one thing, where you can sort of get a balance in this? Because I'm like, the way we are talking right now, I'm literally facing that, because one side my parents are like, build your career, where I want to like also discover different things, and there's a little lag over there and I'm not understanding. So like how does Let's Enterprise help?
Exactly. So yeah, so we get caught in this between these two pulls. One pushing me to take a decision and get settled, and one pulling me to explore and try, right? Now, how do we resolve this? Okay, so that's where Let's Enterprise, the concept of Let's Enterprise was born, that how can we help young people to explore, to try many things, and while doing that, develop the mindsets, the competencies, and the abilities that you need to become successful in any career that you choose, right? So the answer came from this idea called transferable skills. Okay. Now, transferable skills are skills that I can transfer from one type of work or from one industry to the other. So there are two types of skills. There are domain skills and there are transferable skills, right? Yeah. So domain skills, now if I'm a baker, so the ratio of flour to water, that's a domain skill, right? But talking to customers, deciding how to position my product, how much to price my product, how to grow a market for it, how to do user research, these are all transferable skills. Even if I apply them in the bakery domain, tomorrow I can go and apply it in the banking domain as well, right? So we realize that if we can help young people to develop real world, practical, transferable skills, while giving them exposure to multiple projects, multiple industries, multiple ways of thinking, then they are able to do both the things. They are making progress towards their career, towards being more successful and gaining a competitive advantage, and they have the opportunity to explore. So that is how Enterprise took an approach to try and solve this problem. And for that, the key at the very heart of our approach lies projects. So we realized that, in college, you can do a lot of conceptual, theoretical learning, but there is a gap because the moment you hit the industry requires you to have practical abilities, requires you to work on teams, requires you to collaborate, requires you to take decisions in limited information. And today, even if you're doing a job, you need to be an entrepreneur, which means you need to take risks. Nobody wants you to every day come and say, okay, tell me exactly what to do. So we realize that projects is what is going to help us to do that. So therefore, our mode of learning at enterprise is by getting our partners. So people who join enterprise, they're called partners because we want them to think like owners. So by getting them to work on multiple projects and during this process, develop transferable skills.
Right.
That's really good. That's really good.
So this brings me up to some questions. So when we talk of projects, so exactly what kind of projects, like when you decide a project, which is something which you feel would be something which would benefit people, what do you look in that project, and also what do you look in the kind of people that you want with yourself as partners?
Beautiful. That's a great question. So we talk about something called the decision funnel. Okay, so it's wide like any funnel at one end, and it's narrow at one end. Okay, so you enter from the wide end and you come out from the narrow end, right? So you look at this decision funnel as your career. Okay, what stage of your career in? If you're in the beginning stage of your career, then you're in the wide end. And as you go deeper and you become more of an expert in something, you go towards the narrow end, right? So now in the wide end, we say you should say yes to every opportunity. And as you become more of an expert and as you go deeper and deeper in your career, you should say no to almost every opportunity and become very, very selective. Now, depending on which stage you are, you should know how much to say yes and how much to say no, right? I'm telling you this concept because many people, they get confused. You know, we keep saying no to opportunities because we feel, I'm not sure exactly what I want.
Correct, yeah.
We believe that, you know, if you're in the beginning stages, say yes to everything. So therefore, the projects that partners will go through at enterprise, they go through stages. So initially, first 2 months, they go through something called kickstart projects, where they get to, you know, experience the whole idea of working on a project. They create an event, they market a product, they build something together. Very quickly, they have to build something together. Then in the second stage of kickstart projects, they go through a design thinking project, where they have to design an experience for an actual local business. And many of these local businesses we work with are street vendors like chaat walas, pani puri walas, vegetable vendors. We help them to improve their customer experience. So this is the phase one. Then in phase two, the partners work with startups and other businesses on consulting projects. So businesses keep approaching us and we approach businesses also. So recently we are speaking to a major hotel chain to improve their customer experiences for staycations. So we are finding that hotels are doing more and more staycations. So we are talking to them that how can we have a better family experience in your hotel, especially for families with kids, right?
That's
so
very interesting.
Yeah. So we'll work with businesses as a consultant, and a team of our enterprise mentors who has this kind of industry experience works as a guide for a couple of students. But the students talk to the clients directly. The students understand the requirements. The students are like consultants to these projects. We just support the students in, you know, helping them to take decisions and which frameworks to use. So like this, they do 3 to 4 real life client projects. That's phase 2. And phase 3, they go into something called an entree project, where then we support them to incubate an idea of their own. It could be a business idea, it could be a product idea, it could be a blog, it could also be a social idea. And the objective is for them to have a taste of thinking something from scratch and bringing it to reality. Not necessarily that they will continue running this business forever, but to have this experience. So that's how they go through this journey of projects. I hope that kind of answers your question.
Yes, that does. But that also brings me up to another question. So what's a revenue model? Like, this is something that I asked from a proper finance student approach. Like, how do we actually run the enterprises? Are the projects that we have pro bono, or do we have revenue margins there?
Yeah, so that's a very good question, and good that you're a business student, so you're asking this question.
Yeah,
it's a very important thing. So yes, enterprise is a business. We work with 50 partners, student partners a year, and we charge there's a fees that the students pay. The partners pay a fees to be a part of the program. And we also charge clients for these projects, but that is not a primary revenue model. We charge so that the clients take the project seriously and even we take the project seriously. But our primary revenue model is the fees that students pay, partners pay to be a part of this program.
Absolutely right. Is the selection ratio for the project for having partners, is this something, some kind of test that the students have to give in order to be a part of the test, or can people who are watching us or hearing us, their audience, they can also try and give the test and be a part of this?
Yeah, so that's a good question. No, we don't have any cat or mouse or tiger kind of test, but we have.
I love the address of this cat and mouse. It's just
Yeah.
volumes.
So there is a selection process. There's an application form that we ask them to fill, and we've designed the application form with a colleague of mine who works in the human resources industry in Canada. And we designed it in such a way that it should help people, anybody who fills up that form, it will ask them a lot of reflective questions, which will help them think about their own career in a fresh way. So we've designed the application form itself to be a value-added experience for people. There's a form that they fill. After they fill up the form, then I do a 30-minute one-to-one coaching call with everybody who fills up the form. And in that call, we don't talk about enterprise. It's just about them and their career and what their goals are, just to help them get a little bit more clarity. Then after that, my partner Ankita, she speaks with them and helps them understand enterprise, answer their queries and their doubts. Once they've gone through this and they're feeling more clear, we have an interview with two of our other partners, Yusuf and Palak, and they have like a half-an-hour interview. But the interview is more like a conversation, and what we are really looking for is only one quality, which is hunger.
Yeah.
Agar aapka peet bhara hua hai, then you're not going to be searching for something.
Basically, passion, like if there's a passion amongst them, like.
Yeah, if there's a fire, if there's a hunger, if there's a desire to do something, then we are on. Okay, so we're not really looking for intellectual ability or academics, or communication also is okay. It's good to have some communication, but that gets built. We are really looking for that fire, that readiness to break comfort zones, willingness to stretch yourself. अगर 12-13 घंटा काम करना पड़ा एक हफ्ते के लिए continuously, तैयार होना चाहिए. So we are looking for that kind of fire. And once they go through that interview, then we have a quick chat with their parents, because parents also have a small say in this matter, right? So we take some time to answer their queries, their hesitations, and then comes the onboarding.
Listening to your comfort zone thing, I've seen like you are more focusing on breaking people, like breaking all your partners' comfort zone and getting into that thing which you're not comfortable with. So why is it like you want to break their comfort zones, and what is the benefits? Like, what are the benefits when you break the comfort zone and we get to the extreme?
Yeah. That's $1 million question. Why break the comfort zones, right? Because they're so comfortable.
Yeah.
Don't we want to be comfortable in life? The truth is that if you don't step out of your comfort zone, then you will actually not be comfortable. So one of the things that I realized very early in life, and I think my father really helped me to understand this, is that, you know, as a human being, you will never be satisfied and you'll never feel at peace if you believe that you're performing below your potential. So if you think in your mind that your potential is 8, but you're performing at 6, there'll be something from inside that will trouble you.
Right, that happens.
Right?
Yeah.
You feel I can do more. You feel I want to do more. And it's not about comparing. Somebody else may feel my potential is 5. But if they're performing at 5, there'll be a satisfaction in them. But if I feel I should be performing at 8, but I'm only at 7, I'll be dissatisfied. Right? And
I wanted to ask, like, how do you think all these skills come up? Like something like a confidence, something like knowing your potential, just all these different skills that make you the person that you are. So where does all this, come from? How does it build? And how do you help as a life coach to enhance those particular skills?
Beautiful. So you use the key word, right? Confidence. So if
Right.
somebody were to ask me that in one word, tell me what is it that you get out of this entire enterprise experience? Tell me one word that is the most important. I would just use this word confidence, right? And confidence is not about being talkative. It is not about being bold. It is not about being a risk taker. Confidence is just about being willing to grab opportunities, being willing to step outside comfort zones and learn from that, being unafraid of whether it will be a failure or a success, but having the confidence that whether I fail or succeed, I will learn something out of this.
Correct. Right.
Confidence is about being able to take decisions even when I don't have 100% information. You know, confidence is about being ready to go and meet new people, talk to people, make new friends, ask questions. Confidence is also about humility, realizing that I don't know everything. And it's okay if I don't know everything. I don't have to know everything. But I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to collaborate. I'm willing to, involve others. So this confidence is what I think all of us are looking for. Today you guys are youngsters. I think that you are way smarter than us. You have way more resources than us. I think the way that your mind works and the kind of thinking that you come up with, I don't think that people of my age can easily come up with that. I think we need to work with you as much as you need to work with us to keep our minds fresh.
Okay? Yeah, because we have got something like more of the fresh mind than you have got something like experience. Experience and new talent can come together and build up something great.
Correct. But experience has its limitations because experience only knows what worked in the past. Experience cannot say what will work in the future. Experience has its value, but it also has its limitations. And at the same time, your fresh mind has its advantages, but also it has some limitations. So what stops us sometimes, especially at a younger age, is this lack of confidence that, oh, what will they think of me? Oh, I don't have the experience. Oh, I've never done this before. Oh, is this the right thing? And this many times holds us back. Actually, if you look around you, you are surrounded by opportunities. Actually, if you look around you, you have all the capability inside you already that you need. The only thing that stops us is that little doubt. And that is what this whole journey of enterprise attempts to bridge. By giving you multiple experiences, by allowing you to fail, allowing you to succeed, and allowing you to reflect in your journey and begin to form your own inner confidence. It's not based on achievements, it's not based on what other people say, but it's based on your own experiences and reflections. And then that confidence is very powerful. It doesn't easily get shaken up.
Absolutely, sir. So this brings me up to a couple of more questions. So now that our conversation is already dragged into, confidence and about things that are okay. So as a CEO, you must have had an interaction with a lot of people, like 10 to 100 times more than me. So have you met students who have not had a goal? And do you think that not having a particular goal, but still hustling in the whole process of, having multiple checklist items, is that rational? Or do you think in the long run, that is something which could be a situation that we are stumbling? Because when I talk about myself from a student, at this point of time, I don't know what is the best thing, because something which is the best appears to me right now as a goal, but I've not even experienced it. So I have no idea if it's actually meant for me.
That is a very, very, very important question, Ria. Thanks for asking that. So goals, okay, goals are very beautiful, but goals are very dangerous. I write a weekly letter. In fact, I would love for you guys and all your listeners, if they are interested in these kind of topics, I write a weekly letter called Eat, Play, Love. I'll share the link with it. It's at www.adityajhunjhunwala.com. And a couple of weeks back, I wrote a letter about goals, and I said, forget goals. Because, goals are very nice. I'm not saying you should not have goals, but goals can become very overwhelming. Just like what you're saying, Ria, how do I even set goals? Because I don't know right now what I want. How can I set a goal? I want to have $1 million house. Okay, that's not a goal. That's a dream. It's beautiful. Okay. So goals are something you can have when you already know where you're going. So if I know I'm going to Goa, then I can have a goal that I want to reach before lunch, so that I can enjoy lunch on the beach, right? But first I need to know that I want to go to Goa, right? So we talk about direction. We speak about direction. I think it's more important to start thinking what direction I want to go in. Do I want to go in a direction where I have to work with people a lot? Do I want to go in a direction where I'm responsible for selling and marketing and growth? Do I want to go in a direction where there's a lot of research and I have to, investigate and I have to come up with new things? Do I want to go in a direction where I have to be very creative? Right? So we focus more on direction. Once you have a direction, you start moving, you start exploring. And then once you have traction on that, then you can start setting goals.
So can I ask that why would you say not to have a particular goal? Because if you, at least for me, if I don't have a particular goal, probably I'll stop working because I don't know what I'm wanting next or what I'm aiming for.
Yeah. No, you're right. I'm not saying don't have goals. I'm just saying be careful when to have goals. So if goals are working for you right now, that's great. But many people, they struggle with goals. Just like Ria was saying, we struggle because I don't know exactly what I want, right? So we have to know whether right now a direction is more important for you. If you think you have a direction, then please go ahead and set goals in that. But setting goals without knowing your direction, then you end up setting goals just because you have to set up goals. And later on, you kind of look back and regret.
Right.
Or you just feel the pressure of that goal and you feel burnt out after some time. That goal is not really coming from inside. The goal needs to come from inside. You need to really feel that goal. And until you get there, directions are until you get there and find those goals that you really feel, directions are very, very powerful. Does that make sense for you guys?
Completely.
Usha has some hesitations with that.
So absolutely, it clearly does. I mean, when I think about it at this point of time, when there are so many things to do, and so at this point of time, we are talking about things which are discovery. We're talking about academia. There's a very important aspect. There are, in fact, two very important aspects that we're missing out in here as well, which are hangouts and family. So bringing and maintaining a time, and in fact, me time. So there are, like, if I had to categorize my time, that would be me time, family, hangouts, friends, then exploring, and then the real ambition. So these would be the 5 broad categories with a lot of subcategories. And in all of this, finding a goal and doing everything all together, this is just, the more I'm growing each day, the more my respect towards people who have actually done things like you increases and elevates more.
Absolutely. Well said, Riya. So true. Just to kind of resolve this conflict, because I can see Ushma is still struggling with this, that why I'm not saying don't set goals. All I'm saying is that when you're already moving in a direction, then you can set goals. But when you're in a completely exploring phase, anything in life, at that stage, it's better to focus on directions and not try to stress yourself out with goals. So right now, let's say I'm exploring music. I'm trying to learn the guitar, right? Right now I'm exploring. So my direction is that I want to be able to play 5-6 songs and I should be able to kind of, strum along with a couple of people. I'm not making it like a goal. Oh, I have to do it by December or something. It's a direction. I'm exploring that. But once I get there, once I have 5 songs, 10 songs, 20 songs in my belt and I have that confidence, then I can say, oh yeah, in next 3 months, I'm going to learn another 20 songs.
Okay. It's like the other day I was reading a book where the author said that you should have SMART goals. So basically, SMART is an abbreviation which says that sensible, manageable, and the couple of more that articulated, responsible, and technical goals. So this brings me up to one thing, which was that there could be a particular goal that I have to complete 5 things today, which include this podcast and let's say 4 more things. So that could be my goals. But if let's assume that today I have never studied science bio, but I want to be a doctor. And I say that I have to be a doctor someday, or maybe let's say that I have to do a PhD someday, wherein I have no idea what I have to do around it. What are the ideas around those lines? And I have not talked to people who have actually done it. So in things like those, then it would be something so vague for me that it wouldn't remain a goal itself. And that is something I think a mistake that I do after this conversation. I realize mistaking them for goals.
Fantastic. Thanks for sharing that, Ria.
So as we are sharing about goals, direction, and aims, so there might be a time when like you were also confused. So like what is to be done? Like you are also an exploring field. So can you share your story with us? Like when you were struggling with this same dilemma, what am I supposed to do with my career?
I am still confused. I think all of us are always, there's something on which we have clarity, and there's always going to be something that we are still exploring. That's a part of life, right? You're always, some aspects you have clarity, you're moving ahead, there are some goals, and some aspects we are exploring. So let's say even with enterprise, even right now, there are certain things that we know that are for sure and we are moving ahead. And there are certain parts of enterprise where we are still exploring. And we don't know what's going to work, what's not. So I just wanted to say that first, Sahil, that it's not key now, there'll be a time when you'll stop exploring and everything is clear.
Yeah.
ऐसा कभी नहीं होने वाला, and it should not, because it becomes boring then. Right? But talking about my own story, I think I think I have explored like all my life. I mean, right from when I joined engineering, I was really excited about building stuff. I really wanted to actually work with my hands and build things and make machines. But we didn't do that. At least in our time in engineering college, we didn't do that. It was only about fat textbooks and writing practical journals. And after a point, I didn't enjoy that anymore. And then I started exploring, in fact, I think that is one of the places where, for me, the whole idea of enterprise comes. Because I think when you're young at heart, you want to do things, you want to make things, you want to get out there and do something practically. And I feel in those 3-4 years of college, we don't get enough opportunities to do that. Or there are opportunities, but we don't probably find like-minded people, or we don't find a platform where we get a little bit of guidance. So for me, I think I've explored a lot. I mean, after engineering, I realized I don't want to go in a technical field. So I set a direction that I want to go more in a business kind of a field, but I also knew I want to go in a creative field. So I worked for 2 years with my mother, who's a ceramic artist. After doing engineering, I decided to join my mother, who's a ceramic artist. And all my friends looked at me wondering what I was doing. But the direction was that, okay, let me explore if I can take some of her art and build products out of it. And we did build a product out of it that we ended up exporting to 14 different countries, of course, over the next 5-6 years. So I explored that. Then I did that for 2 years, and I realized, chalo, I think I should now, do further education. So I ended up doing my master's. So I did my MBA at IIM Ahmedabad. Then I said, let me explore the corporate world for some time. And for a few years, I worked in IBM, like I said. And that's when I also realized that, okay, I think I've had enough, and that entrepreneurial bug in me bit me. And I realized that I want to get back to business. And came back to that little business that I started with my mother. Then spent the next 8 years growing that. And that's how, slowly, step by step, the journey evolved. So I think I've had enough confusion. And my parents used to always tell me, there's good confusion and there's bad confusion. Okay. Good confusion propels you into action and exploration. Bad confusion paralyzes you and you stop doing anything. Right? So make sure you get enough good confusion.
Makes sense.
So what is your take on competition? Like even right now, when students, like for me, when I look at my world, I feel like there's so much competition. People just want to defeat each other and just go ahead one step forward from the other person, and there's a lot of pin down also sometimes, like not always, but sometimes it's like that brings too much confusion as to how to go ahead with your career or with any other goal. So what is your insight on like competition and like the different things that like can confuse someone?
Yes, so to add on to Ushma here, along with competitors, I also wanted to ask how much do you think privileges control things? Like when we talk about competition, we also talk about all the different people coming from different backgrounds. So when you see someone who has been in the competitive spirit, and like when I talk of myself who has been a debater, still be much more of competition. But when you come in a phase like that, you become a little calm. But then the kind of background, the kind of places that you hail from, since you have had people from so many different places, how do you think these role plays govern the situation?
Wow, these are really cool questions that you guys are asking. सोचना पड़ेगा. So, when you're saying competition, I feel it's important to understand in our mind firstly, in a given situation, there are two types of situations. One is a scarcity situation. Okay, in game theory, it's called zero-sum game. Where only one person, there's only a limited number of available slots. So let's say if you're getting into a college and 10,000 people are applying, but there are only 100 seats. Now it's a scarcity situation. In a scarcity situation, competition is different. You need to understand the factors of success. You need to understand the variables, and then you need to work hard and you need to compete. Okay, so some situations in life, they are scarcity situations. But the truth is, most situations in life are not scarcity situations. Okay, so if you are in a situation which is not a scarcity situation, then comparing with others is of no use. Then competition is healthy. And if you're in a situation where there is multiple ways to do things, then you should use competition to get inspired. So in the word competition comes from the Latin word compare, which means to inspire each other. So then you use competition in a very healthy, positive way, and you use it to get inspired and don't allow it to drag you down.
True.
I think it's important that we analyze that when you're thinking of competition, is it a scarcity situation or not? Are there multiple ways to do things? Let's say if you're applying for a job interview, there is not only one way to win in that. There are many ways, and you have to play to your own strengths, right? But if you're applying for CAT and you have to get into some, institute, then there's only one way to win. You have to crack CAT. So in that situation, figure out, is there only one way to win or are there multiple ways to win, and then play to your strengths.
Absolutely. So this brings me up to a follow-up. So in a world of networking, how do you build friendships? If that makes sense.
It makes sense, but networking is different from friendships.
Yeah.
Okay. You only need one good friend in life, if you ask me. If you have one really good friend in life with whom you can really just be yourself, you're blessed. If you have two, then you have done something crazy in your last lifetime. Okay, so friendships is a different thing. Let's not confuse networking with friendships. Networking is connecting with people, and network is only useful if you can actually do something with that network. Just because you have 10,000 contacts on LinkedIn, it doesn't mean anything. But if you can call your contact and get launched on a project with them, then it's meaningful. So at enterprise, for us, networking is a very, very important concept. And we encourage partners to really create real networks, which is not about quantity. You may not make 100 new connections, but if you can make 10 new connections, and with each of those connections, you can develop trust, enough trust that you can call them up and say, you know what, suppose you can network with the CEO of an organization. And if you have developed enough trust that if you tell them that I'd like to talk to you for 10 minutes, they're willing to take out those 10 minutes for you and give you a year, then you have a network. Now, how do you create that connection? You create that connection by establishing credibility. How do you establish credibility? By working on a project and showing your results. So we come back to projects, which I said is at the heart of enterprise. So when partners work with 10 different organizations, 10 different CEOs on projects, and they deliver results to them, then that person becomes a lifelong connection for them. Then partners, so enterprise tagline is create yourself. Create yourself, create your own opportunities. Become an opportunity magnet. So when I create a network like this, even if it is 8-10 people who are people connected to the industry, and I work with them, and I create credibility and trust, then when the time comes when I am looking for an opportunity or when they are looking for a resource, it becomes an instant connect. So in enterprise, we have a process called story cells. Because at the end of the day, it's your story of what you have done that is going to convince me or anyone else whether to work with you or not. It's not going to be a
Right.
certificate. It's going to be your story. So we have a process called story cells, and we empower the partners during the entire enterprise journey to build their story and to build connections where there is trust established. And that's how we find many of our enterprise partners, after they've worked with a couple of clients, the client only tells them, would you like to work with us? You know, they are able to connect with people on LinkedIn and tell them what they are doing and, get opportunities to work with startups. Because I find that, one of the vicious circles that we get caught up in when we are just graduating from college, to get a good job where you actually get to think and take decisions, you need experience. But to get experience, you need a job like that. So you're stuck in a loop, right? So we say that let's break that loop and let's get that experience so that we can start attracting our own opportunities.
Absolutely. So this is when we talk about this feels so comical that it's all actually a loop. And the kind of hype which is created for the corporate world, the kind of hype which is created for everything which is so technical, it's just so natural, so humane in the first place.
You're very right, Riya, that there's a lot of hype that is created, especially for technical things. So I meet a lot of people saying they want to learn financial skills, they want to learn, so many technical skills. But if you go and talk to people in the corporate world, they will say, I want people who have hunger to learn,
Yeah.
who have a humble attitude. They don't think that they know it all. And they're able to communicate well and express themselves. They're able to work with others. This is what, if you have these technical skills, I will teach you.
That has become more of like hype in the market, like a particular course has got more scope, and then this is going to be too much beneficial in the next coming years. The hype of a course of a particular field has been made up like this. Actually, it isn't like it depends on us. Whatever we feel, what we want to do, it depends on us. It doesn't mean if we have got a more focus on that field, so we are supposed to go there.
Yeah, very true, very true. And this word hype is a very important word because, again, once again, I'm coming back to enterprise. Like for us, one of the important things is to empower people to think for themselves. Because what hype does, it disempowers us to think for ourselves. Now we start thinking about what the hype is saying. What the propaganda is saying, what others are making noise about. Exactly. What makes the maximum noise attracts the maximum, attention in our mind. And we want to help people to step back from that and start thinking for themselves.
So this brings me up to another question. So, what, according to you, should be the ideal timetable, like the ideal work ethic? If only you were of my age and you had to relive again, what would be the 3 things or maybe 5, which you would do, come back at this age and do, which you probably did and which you probably didn't do? So if you could tell us so that we can, in the audience as well, could hear and implement all of those.
Wow, yeah, I just love this question. Work ethic, that's one of my favorite words. I believe it's 10 times more powerful than talent and knowledge. Just straight, simple work ethic. Right? And I think the industry values that like crazy. If you can demonstrate a work ethic, multiple opportunities will open up for you. And once again, if I had to say, just 3 simple things that come to my mind in terms of work ethic. One, I would say just be on time. Just show up on time. Whatever it is. Even if it is at home, if you told your mother you'll come at 8, come at 8. Otherwise, don't say you'll come at 8. Say that, I don't know, I'll be there between 8 and 9. That's okay. But if you've said 8, no, then come at 8. So I feel that is one really, really important work ethic. The other important work ethic is ask for help. People don't ask for help. They don't know what they need to do. Then they get stuck. And then at the end, last moment, either they vanish, they ghost you, or they say, oh, I didn't know. So ask for help early on. There's no shame in asking for help. So unfortunately, our schooling system, because of the exam system, you're supposed to know everything and you're not supposed to cooperate. You're not supposed to help each other. So we have not grown up in a culture of asking for help. But the moment you enter the working world, it's all about helping each other. It's all about working together. So ask for help. I think that's a very, very important work ethic. And I think the third work ethic that I would say is that, just communicate about when you can show up and when you can't. Communicate what you can do and what you can't do. If you're traveling for 10 days, communicate that well in advance. Don't just say from tomorrow, I'm not there. I think it's as simple as that. If we can do these few things. Another simple point that comes to my mind is always have a pen and paper with you and take notes. Just take notes so that you have things to refer back. So these simple things, we don't realize how important and how powerful they
are. Absolutely. So that makes a lot of sense. This tells me about how we have online exams and off records. Collaborating has been a thing of late.
Yeah.
Not to talk much about it. Yeah, so that's I think all from my side. Ushma, would you have any more questions for Sir?
Yes, so talking from the creative aspect, from the field of creation and new reels and everything that you've been putting up about motivation and so many other mindful aspects. I wanted to ask, what does it occur to you sometimes that you might have a creative block and you don't know what to do, or you're just you're just stuck somewhere? And I mean, even I write poems, and off late I've not been able to create a new piece, and that really triggers me. I see other creators online, and sometimes I see other blogs also, and I'll be like, oh, she writes better than me, or he is doing much better than me. So is there something where creative block comes in, and how you deal with that?
Creative blocks, huh? You write, is it?
Yes, I do.
Wow, lovely. I would love to read what you write. And anybody who writes or works on anything creative definitely feels these creative blocks. Your mind just shuts down, right?
Right.
And the only thing that helps me to overcome these creative blocks is to just sit, especially when it comes to writing, is to just sit in front of your laptop. And I tell myself, okay, I'm going to sit for the next. In fact, after this podcast, me and Ankita, we're going to spend the next 3-4 hours just sitting and writing. We're working on a book. So we're going to just spend time. So we just block time out, and then you just sit in front of it and tell yourself, okay, even if I write not even a single word for the next 1 hour, but I will sit with my fingers on the keyboard.
Right.
And whatever happens, let it happen. And then sometimes I just write gibberish and let it just come. So what happens is this thought that, oh, it has to come out really good, it has to come out perfect. This is what causes us to stop. But that's when, if you can be a little playful, and if you can have a little musty, and if you can just sit there and say, okay, I'm just going to sit here until it comes, it opens up. So Ushma, would you like to write something together with me for my next newsletter?
Definitely, sir. I would like to try at least.
Kelly writes well, sir. You should read her piece.
So good, let's do it. Let's think of a topic, and this next newsletter of mine, which is going to go out on Thursday, let's write for it together. In fact, you write something and then I can build something on that and we'll put it out there.
Sure, definitely.
I like that confidence. So let me ask you guys one question as we wrap up, and maybe this will also give us an idea for a topic for the letter. Okay. Right. The question which I want to ask all three of you guys is that what stops you from taking bold decisions about your career?
Probably the fear of losing or taking dilemma. Is it a right or wrong decision?
Okay. So dilemma whether the decision will be right or wrong. That stops you from taking bold decisions.
So can I answer that by showing you something?
Absolutely.
So, sir, right ahead of me, I had this one list, which is basically a list of things that I really want to do in my college.
Wow. My God, that's a college checklist.
Yes,
Amazing.
so this includes things from basketball to horse riding to the picture that I have to get clicked at a lot of places. But so the only thing which right now I feel is that if I complete all of it, there might be a time that I won't be earning enough, which friends of mine would be, and the kind of financial independence that they would then have would be a little lesser than mine because I would then be doing things that I wanted to. This is the only thing which stops. If only this question gets out, then I think I can go out and do everything that I want to.
Beautiful. So this question that I might end up earning less than my other friends if I follow my dream, right? This thought stops you from taking bold career decisions, right?
Yes.
Beautiful. Well articulated. What about you, Ushma?
Mine would be, I think, pressure from maybe parents, from friends, or just in the world of like creating. If I see like a lot of other people who are way too ambitious than me, maybe I feel like I'll be missing out on something. And maybe like in that rat race, I would be last or left out or something like that. So it would be like more so I want to do everything that everyone else is doing, and then I'll miss out on what I actually want to do. So it's like a mess there.
Beautiful. Thanks so much, guys, for sharing this so openly and being vulnerable to put this out there. And I would encourage all the listeners of this podcast to ask themselves this question, and then write this thought down. This thought that stops you from making a bold career decision. Write this down on a piece of paper and put it up on your wall and look at it every day. Every day, look at the thought that is stopping you. And I'm not saying you should break it or you should change it. All I'm saying is look at it, because as you look at it more and more, it will evolve, it will emerge. And maybe one day you will say, Pagal hai kya? This is stupid.
Yeah.
So true. All right, audience. So I think that was the conclusory note from Sir, and we really hope that all of us today, when we go back home, scribble in our walls. This is us signing off for Radio Gaga HRC's today's episode. Ushma?